A very good morning to everyone. Welcome to Basavaraddi English Medium online classes. How are you all? Doing well? Huh? Okay, fine then. Let's get started with our classes. Okay? So today we are going to have a small refreshing class about your bridge course, that's called as bridge course, about science, what you have studied earlier and what you're going to study now. Okay? Ready? Fine. So first chapter you had something called nutrition in plants. So nutrients are very necessary for us. Yes or no? They are very necessary for us. Why? Because we do get our energy from these nutrients. So what are different kinds of nutrients then? We have carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, even water is there. Yes? Then we have studied something called as nutrition. Nutrients, these are the components, necessary components. But when it comes to nutrition, it is the mode of taking food by the organisms. No, it's the mode of how you take the food. Okay, that's called as nutrition. In case of nutrition, there are two types mode of nutrition, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic. In case of autotrophic, auto means self. Trophos means nourishment. Correct? Self nourishment. Autotrophic means. That means here the organisms make their own food. When you hear this word autotrophic, what comes to in your mind? Exactly. Plants. Yes, plants are the autotrophic organisms. But when it comes to heterotrophic, hetero means other. That means here the animals and most of the organisms are depending on others, like on plants for their food. They are not capable of producing their own food. That's the reason they are called as heterotrophs. Photosynthesis. Now, in case of plants, we say they produce their own food. Then, how do they produce their own food? They produce their own food by means of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the mode through which the food making process takes place in plants. That means it is the main way how the plants produce their own food. Then, what are the main components of photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, and most important, the chlorophyll pigment. Correct? The chlorophyll pigment. Water and minerals are transported to the leaves by the vessels from roots. That means you have a plant at the top, then how your water, minerals, how does they reach them? Through their root system, they has been transported to their leaves, topmost leaf, because they have small vessel-like structures in them. Okay, then carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide enters through the tiny pores present on the surface of the leaves called stomata. It means carbon dioxide enters through the tiny pores present on the surface of the leaves called stomata. The sunlight is the ultimate source of energy, and the green pigment is called as chlorophyll. So if you see here, see, now the sunlight falls on the plant, the atmospheric carbon dioxide is absorbed by the leaves. But how do they absorb this carbon dioxide? By this. This is your section of your leaf. You can see the guard cells here. Yes. Yeah, this is your stomata, and these two bean shaped like structures are called as guard cells. Okay, now here when the sunlight falls on the leaves, they absorb the carbon dioxide through stomata. The water and minerals have been supplied through the root system to the leaf. Okay, in presence of carbon dioxide, water, and chlorophyll, and most important, sunlight, they produce carbohydrate. Can you see here? Carbohydrate, and oxygen is given out. That means during the process of photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is given out. Okay? You know now this? Then you would ask a question, ma'am, there are some of the leaves which are not green in color but reddish brown, red. Then do they produce do they undergo photosynthesis? Yes, they also go under photosynthesis, but they do have different pigments. Okay? Any doubts here? Let's go further. Carbohydrates made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So these carbohydrates, they are made up of three components: carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. They are also used to produce other components such as proteins and fats. So carbohydrates is been produced by photosynthesis. Then how do these proteins and fats have been synthesized? There has to be a way, right? So they have been produced by these particular carbohydrates itself. Now when it comes to proteins, proteins do have a nitrogen base in them. How do they get this nitrogen base? We'll come to know in the next slide. Okay. Now humans and animals, such plants, depend on the food produced by other plants. That means here we human beings and most of the animals, right? They depend on these plants for their food. But when we depend on them, we are not harming them. But there are some of the plants which also depend on other plants for their food. But when they take all the nutrition and they kill that particular plant. So such kind of plants are called as parasites. What are they called? Parasite. Parasite means you have an organism, you go and absorb the nutrition from it and kill it. Okay? Then we have insectivorous plants. You have learned about insectivorous plants. Which is it? Yes, the pitcher plant. So it completely swallows the insect which resides on the leaf, which is a jug-like structure, and the lid closes it. When the insect comes and sits inside the jug-like structure, the lid is closed and the juices will be secreted in the plant, and those juices will completely kill the insect. Then saprophytic, you have heard the term saprophytic. There are some organisms which take food from dead and decaying organisms and prepare their own food. Such type of nutrition is called saprophytic nutrition, and the organisms are called saprotrophs. Correct? Now best example for saprotroph is your fungi. Mushroom. Yes? Now it is a rainy season. You might have seen the mushroom, right? Correct. Then comes symbiosis. What is symbiosis? That means some organisms live together and share both shelter and nutrition without harming the other organism. So this is the main difference between your parasite as well as your symbiosis process. In case of parasite, you're killing the other organisms, but in case of symbiosis, you're exchanging the nutrition and shelter without harming the other organism. During the process of photosynthesis, the plants use all the nutrients from soil, correct? Because water and minerals have been taken from the soil. Then they have to be replenished. That means if you empty a vessel of rice, if you need again, we need to put it again, right? ನಿಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸತಿ ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅನ್ನ ನೀಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ when the plants absorb the nutrients from the soil, they have to be again replenished. So there are some of the organisms such as here rhizobium. Okay, rhizobium is a bacteria. This particular rhizobium, it has the ability to absorb the atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, rhizobium how do they replenish their, and how do they maintain the fertility. So next is nutrition in animals. So even animals do require the nutrition. So how do we get this nutrition from this complex substances? We do get this nutrition from this complex substances by the digestion. So how does this digestion takes place in humans? So in case of humans, we have a different compartments where it is a continuous process. Digestion is a continuous process. So it has to go through six different compartments. That is, one is buccal cavity, then food pipe, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, ending in rectum, then the anus. When it comes to mouth and buccal cavity, the process of taking food by the in the process of taking food into the body is called as ingestion. Okay, when we eat something, we start chewing it. How do we chew it? We chew it with the teeth. So the teeth help in breakdown of these into small pieces. Our teeth vary in appearance and in their functions also. Correct? Our teeth, they are not one and the same. They are different. Different means not like completely outside. Yes, the appearance is completely little bit different in them, and the same way their functions also. There are two types of teeth. Okay, first is milk teeth and the other is permanent teeth. Milk teeth you will be having from after your birth, from third, fourth month to your 6 to 8 year, 8 maximum 7 years. Then your teeth start falling and you get new teeth there. Okay, all right. Next comes food pipe. So here you can see you have the food from the buccal cavity. It enters into the esophagus or the food pipe. Okay, here the food, whatever been chewed into small pieces, goes through this food pipe like this. So it has to go down. So it goes with the movement of the walls of your to and fro movement of your esophagus, that is food pipe, and enters into the stomach. Okay, now stomach is a thick walled. Can you see it is a thick walled J shaped widest part in the alimentary canal. It receives food at one end. So from here, from esophagus, the food enters here, and from exits, that means it enters here also is one opening, and here again one opening. That means from here it enters into the small intestine at the other end. The inner lining of the stomach secretes mucus and hydrochloric acid, and also the digestive juices. Mucus to protect the inner lining of the wall. Hydrochloric acids if any kind of bacteria or any organism, small particles, any harmful particles, if they have entered into the stomach, they have been completely killed or demolished by this hydrochloric acid. Then we have digestive juices which help in further digestion of your food particle. Okay, then the small intestine. Small intestine is highly coiled and is about 7.5 meters long. See your small intestine here. So here now in this way it enters into the small intestine. It is a coiled structures which is 7.5 meters long. It receives secretion and from liver and pancreas. It also secretes juices. That means this particular small intestine receives secreted juices from liver here and pancreas, that is here. So in case of liver, we have a gallbladder. Okay, it secretes bile juices. So these bile juices helps in the digestion of the fats. And even pancreas also have some of the juices. They also secrete some of the juices which they give to this particular small intestine here. Okay, they secrete the juices and transfer it to the small intestine here. Okay, And these particular pancreatic juices help in digestion of your carbohydrate, proteins and fats. Next, absorption in small intestine. So whatever the food we have taken, it is being digested partially in different stages. In in the digestion process takes place in one or the other phases here. We have different compartment, right? Same way it goes there. When it comes to small intestine, it helps in the digestion as well as the process of absorption. What exactly goes there? Whatever the digested food is being received in the small intestine, it is being absorbed. It means your complex components have been got into simpler forms, and those are being absorbed by the small intestine. How do they absorb this? The inner lining of the small intestine, they do have finger like structures. So these finger like structure absorb them. So this is process is known as absorption. So these finger like small structures absorb the components, okay, the nutrient components, and which are in simpler form, and they are transferred into the network of small blood vessels. So through these blood vessels, whatever the components you have been absorbed, simpler components, they have been transferred to all over the body by these blood vessels itself, because we have to get the energy, right? Yes. So this process is known as assimilation. What is it known as? Assimilation. Then comes your large intestine. Can you see here? The large intestine. Yes. So it is 1.5 meters long. It is 1.5 meters long. So, in case of large intestine, whatever the remaining undigested food is there in small intestine, it is being transferred into the large intestine. So, here in case of large intestine, here also some of the absorption takes place. Some of the minerals and water absorption mainly takes place in your large intestine. Once the absorption process in the large intestine is completed, it then the undigested fecal material, whatever is remaining in the large intestine, it comes out through the, here let me show you. It comes out through the anus. The end part of the large intestine is rectum. It comes in the rectum, and it is time to time it is being given out by the anus here. Anus. Okay? Understood? Any difficulty? Okay. Then this is the digestion process in case of human beings. Then what about your grass gazing animals? How the digestion takes place in them? In case of them, even they do have the similar kind of digestion, but there is a slight difference. What is it? They, whenever they graze, whenever they have this eat the grass, they store it in a particular place in their stomach called as rumen. Okay, in that particular part the food gets partially digested. Complete digestion ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, they get partially digested, and that partially digested material is called as cud. Then after some time the cud returns to the mouth. The cud returns to the mouth in small lumps, small lumps it returns, and animals start chewing it. So this particular process is called as rumination, and these animals are called as ruminants. So now it comes to your homework. So these are the simple questions. You know how to answer them. We have taught you. Please go through this, understand them. Okay? All right. So in few days we'll start with your actual 8th standard syllabus. All right. So till then, prepare yourself. Go through your new next chapters also of 8th standard and prepare yourself. Thank you.